Nvidia, NVDA, has shattered records again, being the first company in history to cross the $4 trillion market cap. But here's the real question: with the US suddenly reversing its China chip ban and Nvidia set to resume billions in sales, is this just the beginning of another massive up move, or are we nearing dangerous exhaustion levels? Well, in this video guys, I'm not just talking about the headlines. You see exactly what's happening on Nvidia chart right now using my One Good Trend strategy and the One Good Trend Pro indicator that I have after going through some articles. So stay with me all the way to the end, because what the chart is telling us might actually surprise you. Let's go. So let's take a look at some articles right now. You can see right over here, Nvidia stock hits fresh record with an AI chipmaker set to resume sales in China after US reversal on the ban. So you have been following the news, right? Somewhere around April, well, in the US, banned its H20 chips from Nvidia into China because there was escalating tensions between US and China, right? There was tariffs, trade war, both countries were kind of like increasing their tariff rate all the way to 100%, right? So that was where there was a ban. And of course, Nvidia started to see selling pressure somewhere in February, March, and April all the way down. However, that has reversed over the past 1 to 2 months, well, because there are some hopes of, this ban being reversed. And yes, indeed, it has come. So Nvidia said it was applying to resume sales of its H20 GPUs in China, right, following the US ban that cost the company billions in lost sales. So Nvidia said that it was filing the application, and the US government assured Nvidia, right, that the licenses will be granted. So they hope to start deliveries real soon. So that has kind of like pushed the stock to a record high. We'll look at the chart in a bit and let's find out if there could be even more upside. So Nvidia has repeatedly introduced what we call lower powered AI chips for the Chinese market, to comply what we call the tightening US export control. So basically in the US, Trump wouldn't want China to have access to the same tools that the US company has. So the US government is kind of like limiting China's ability to advance in the AI technology, citing what they call national security concerns. So that's why Nvidia has been producing what we call the lower powered H20 chips to be shipped to China, but that was banned in April. So the Trump administration in April implemented a ban on the sales of its H20 chips for China, a surprise, right, that immediately sent Nvidia stock spiraling downwards, right, all the way from March, and April it was down. And that move cost Nvidia $2.5 billion in lost sale in the first quarter. So China is actually one of Nvidia's biggest market. It accounts for roughly 13% of its revenue. So with this reversal in the ban, right, that would be a positive, and that's why we're seeing a lot of bullish sentiment in Nvidia stock right now. So now let's dive into Nvidia's NVDA chart to see how is it really looking, right? What are some of the key support levels? Could target be raised even higher, all right? And where could we potentially see selling coming again? Let's go. Okay, so this is Nvidia, NVDA, trading at about 171 US dollar, pretty much at an all-time high. We have broken a very key resistance level that I've talked about previously as well, and that would be what we call the 150 psychological resistance level. So before I talk about this level, let me just go through the trend very quickly. So I'll use what I call my One Good Trend strategy to kind of like analyze the stock, and later I will turn on what we call my tool, this tool that I have, I call it the 1GT Pro indicator, to see if there are any bullish or bearish signals can guide us to maybe ride the upside further, or maybe to be cautious, right? So let's just go to analyze the stock. So you can see that for Nvidia, it has been in a pretty good, I would say, longer term uptrend since like 2023, since more than 1-2 years back, just by looking at the higher lows that were being formed. Look at this, right? This higher lows that were being formed as we traded higher and higher over the past 2 years. And based on the 100 days moving average, the red line, and the blue line, the 200 days moving average, both of them have been pointing up. The red is above the blue. So very strong longer term uptrend since about 2 years back in 2023, maybe even in end of 2022, right? But what happens, right? Somewhere around beginning of this year, or maybe end of last year, somewhere around like October, November, December, well, we started to see a huge resistance, like selling pressure coming back at this key 150 resistance level. Right over here, you can see, right, we kind of like touch about 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, all right, 4, 5, and we just couldn't get above it, right, and we push lower. So there were some signs of the longer term trend turning from like up to sideways just by looking at the 100 days moving average, the red line and the blue line kind of like, moving sideways, turning from up to sideways, right? But what has happened, you can see that over the past few weeks, we have started to see both the blue and red line, the 100 days moving average and the 200 days moving average, both of them have started to turn up. You can see right now they are both starting to turn up. Of course, we want to see the 100 days moving average, the red line, going back above the blue line. I think that's what will happen, right? I think we can stay above the 150 or maybe even breaking the 180. Eventually, there will be a very good confirmation that the long-term trend will turn from sideways back to an upwards direction. So it seems like that is almost playing out. You can see the 100 days moving average is about, right, to cross above the blue line, all right, especially if we stay above a very key support level. So what is a key support level? Well, I would say that this 150 would be a very key support level. It's a resistance we have broken, and that would be a key support. So let me just go to draw this 150 as a green, all right, horizontal support line right now. So the uptrend in the longer term has turned from up to sideways and now starting to point up in the longer term. Let's take a look at what we call the short-term trend, and we can look at what we call the green line, and that would be the 20 days moving average. So you can see, right, the short-term trend has not always been up. It has been like sometimes going down as well. Just by looking at the green line, you can see that was in July, the green 20 days moving average line started to point out. Over here, it started to point out a little bit. Of course, somewhere around like January, February, March, we saw the tech sector in the US selling down, and the short-term trend for Nvidia, right, started to point down, all the way until beginning of May. And we saw the short-term trend, right, the green 20 days moving average line, starting to turn up all the way up. And is it pointing up right now? Yes, it seems like the green 20 days moving average line is pointing up. So I think not too bad. The short-term trend is up for now. It's still pointing up. Prices above the green 20 days moving average line that is still stopping upwards. So as long as we stay above the 150 horizontal support level, I think we look pretty bullish. Upside targets can be revised even higher. So let's see what could be the upside targets, right? So very simple. How we can do is that, we can look at past prices to kind of like see if there are any previous resistance level whereby some selling can come back. But if you look at it right now, it's pretty much an all-time record high. So there's nothing on the past to see if there's any resistance level. Does it make sense? All right, so how then do we project the upside? Well, we can do what we call a little bit of a projection just by looking at the current consolidation phase, right? So you can see that over the past few months, well, we have seen a bit of a consolidation, something like this over here. All right, we consolidated a little bit over here, same thing, consolidate here. So I think we can do a little bit of a projection above 150, maybe all the way to like 170 to 180. I think that's potentially where some selling can come back. So let me just put the upside targets maybe to like about 180 first, and then the psychological 200 level. So that's how Nvidia looks like on the chart. So now let me go ahead to turn on what I call my one good trend pro indicator, whereby it gives me an opinion on this stock or any asset classes in seconds, right? So let me just show you what I mean. You can see right over here, I can turn on the bullish and bearish signals, right? Very quickly, 1, 2, 3, turn it on. And there we go. Let's take a look at what is came out for Nvidia over the past few months. So you can see, right, we don't always have bullish signals coming up for Nvidia. In fact, since like January, February, March, we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearish signals, and it went from like 150 all the way to like about $100. Does it make sense? All right, and then what happened, right? Well, we started to see the short-term trend looking at the green line turning up, and we got another confirmation in terms of a new, right, finally a brand new 1 GT bullish signal coming out exactly on the 7th of May, right? 7th of May, early of May, of course, we have started to push higher and higher from here all the way up here. I think about 53.4% in just about 2 months, right? So very strong rally based on this 1 GT bullish signal that came out as another confirmation. As you can see previously, right, same thing, we got a bullish signal in January last year, and there we go, all the way up. A bearish signal starts coming down, 2 new bullish signals all the way up as well. So it seems like now, this bullish signal that we've seen somewhere in May is still playing out. There are no bearish red signals out as of now. So I think it looks pretty good. And what we could do right now is that, I've drawn this horizontal support at about 150, but it seems like we have even broken the 160 psychological resistance level. So if I can draw another higher horizontal support, maybe around 160, I think that will be where some bargain hunting might come back again, right? And what we could do right now is to pull out what we call the trailing support based on this indicator that I have that allows Nvidia to actually move up higher while giving it the space to breathe. Let me just show you what I mean. So right over here, right, you can see that I can turn on the trailing support and resistance. 1, 2, 3, click on it, and there we go, right? So you see, when we first have the 1 GT bullish signal coming out on the 7th of May that led the reversal, that's where we have a trailing support popping out. And this trailing support, right, kind of like, allows the stock to move higher. It follows it as it moves higher, not following too close, giving it what we call the breathing allowance and space to hopefully move up even higher. So it follows the stock, it goes up, it follows it even more. All right. And since May, you can see the trailing support has been following it, right? Up, flat, up, flat, up, flat, up, flat, all the way till we are right over here. This trailing support is somewhere around the 157. All right, so you can see there's some space between the price and the trailing support level. Why? Because it gives Nvidia space to breathe. It accounts for the volatility. So 160 is this new higher horizontal support that I've drawn, but slightly lower. That would be where the trailing support is, right? Somewhere around the 155 to 156. So I think it looks pretty good, right? We are staying above the horizontal support and even above the trailing support that is slightly lower, that gives it the space to move. So as long as you stay above the 155 or maybe even 160, I think Nvidia looks set to push even higher. There could still be more legs to this rally all the way, right, from 160 to 180. If 180 were to give way, well, 200 could be the next psychological resistance level. So I've been covering these stocks for quite a few months now. We caught the reversal. It's still ongoing, right? We only want to be careful if we do see like a bearish 1 GT signal coming out, like something over here. Like we do see a bearish signal, right over here, a bearish signal as well. Yeah, then you want to be careful. We may see a potential retracement back down, but as of today, it seems like it's attempting to push even higher. All right, there's no bearish signal out yet, so I think it still looks pretty bullish. Yep, guys, so there we have it. That is Nvidia, NVDA, one of the most popular AI stocks that a lot of people have been asking me about. All right, and I hope you have a better idea of what are some of the key levels to watch and how it looks like on my one good trend strategy. So if you want to find out a little bit more in terms of the entire strategy, or perhaps how you can have a tool or an indicator like this to guide you when to get in, maybe when to get out, when time comes, attend one of those free webinars, right? The link's right below the video, and I can't wait to share with you more. So yeah, I hope you like this video. Hit the subscribe button. Can't wait to share you more in the next video. Joey here. Take care.